I've seen the connections that people have made, you know, friendships, relationships, marriages. I mean, that stands the test of time because it shows that people can make those really positive connections.
Hi and welcome to MyOutdoors. First of all, thanks again to everybody who has watched some of the previous videos and who has subscribed. If you haven't already done so, then please hit the subscribe button. Today I'm going to be talking to Iona Andean from Iona's Adventures. She has built up a very successful Facebook page which now has 4,500 followers. She's also very passionate about mental health and the connection to the outdoors, and we talk more about that in the upcoming video. I'd like to thank Berghaus for making the connection for us, and also I'd like to thank Chris Lines and Helinox for the comfortable chairs that we were able to use during the interview. Right, that's enough of that. Let's go on and hear from Iona. Hi Iona, how are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
I'm enjoying this little setup.
Do you like it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the backdrop and sort of a little table and a nice comfortable seat.
I had visions of us like sitting in amongst tree roots and leaves on the ground. I even took like a little foam mat for me to sit on just in case, and then I come along here and there's seats and a table and everything.
Well, I've got to look after you. Yeah. So I suppose you better start off with just an introduction or give us a bit of background on yourself.
So, well, I mean, work as a nurse mostly. That's my main thing. But I guess the reason that I'm speaking to you is because of my link to the outdoors. So yeah, I run a walking group on Facebook called Iona's Adventures, and I set that up because I discovered a love of hill walking only really a few years ago, so quite recent compared to most. And I was just going out hiking on my own all the time and enjoying that, but realised that I wanted to sort of share that experience with other people, and had posted my adventures and walks and photos and things on Instagram, and kind of just reached out to people there and said, you know, does anybody want to come walking with me? I don't necessarily want to do this on my own all the time, even though I enjoy some independence, and realised that there was sort of a niche gap in the market almost for people just to make friends in the outdoors, and that's where my Facebook group set up from. So I've been running that for a few years, and yeah, just meeting people in the outdoors, going walking, learning from other people, trying to help other people learn things as well, and just trying to encourage people to get outside. And I guess all of that on top of working as a nurse is just my way of helping to show people that actually you can make time to be outside. Doesn't matter, you know, how busy you are or what's going on in your life, that there's time to be active and to be outdoors. And adventure isn't necessarily a huge expedition, it's just being outside in any way that kind of feels good for you and feels positive for you.
Do you think that's been more positive with the sort of recent lockdowns, etc., or do you think that's been, people have maybe found that harder?
Oh, I mean, I think during lockdown people found it really difficult to be outside because there was restrictions on how far you could travel, how long you could kind of be outdoors for and things like that. But what I noticed was during lockdown and the pandemic, I expected the member requests for the Facebook group to just drop off the edge of a cliff, and it didn't. It just kept growing and people kept joining. And I took from that because people were locked down and restricted to being indoors a lot, that people started to think that when they did have that time outside, they realised how beneficial it was and how much they needed to be outside and how much you looked forward to going outside your one time a day when you were restricted to just that. And actually I think that people started to realise that that was so key to their well-being and some kind of just positive focus in the day, that then people started thinking, okay, I really like this, how can I do this more often, or how can I keep doing this when lockdown eases, and how can I get better at this or learn more at this, and how can I be outside more. So yeah, the group continued to grow. So,
and did you see people from sort of different walks of life, or people that maybe wouldn't have necessarily sort of gravitated towards the outdoors. Did you see that?
Yeah, I guess in the walking group it's always been a real mix of people, so different ages, genders, abilities, experiences. It's always been, or I've always tried to make it a group that's really welcoming for everybody. It's not an elitist group. I really don't know everything. I've got lots and lots to learn in the outdoors. I'm not a professional mountain leader or instructor or anything like that. So I think it's always been a really welcoming, open space for lots of different people, and that's just continued, and hopefully it will continue. And I suppose that's the feedback that I get from people that's really nice when they've been part of other walking groups who maybe do have, you know, specific requirements on how much experience you have or what skills you have. People have said that the vibe of my walking group is just a lot more welcoming, and we spoke about it earlier before we started recording, that it's about a community sort of aspect and a community feeling and uniting people and connecting people. And it's a connection with the outdoors, it's a connection with self, and it's a connection with other people, and that's what I really try to promote within the group. I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on the group. I'm a member of the group, and as I said earlier, before we started filming, it does seem to be a very positive vibe, a very welcoming and sort of informative, like sharing of information and experience.
Yeah, I try to make sure that it's a case of, if you've got questions or you need answers to something, you can post about it, you can ask about it, knowing that you're going to be free of judgment and criticism and things. And people do seem to want to pass on their knowledge as well. That's another thing, you know, people want to help educate and want to help upskill others, and it's that sort of sharing, collaborative environment that's really, I just think that's really positive, and it encourages people to learn more and to feel confident and competent as well. That's a really positive thing.
And I think that's very key, is that competence, the training and making sure people are safe in the outdoors. And we'll touch on your website that you've developed recently, but sort of focusing on you still. When you look back on your memories of the outdoors, what is your biggest achievement or biggest memory that comes?
I think my biggest achievement from the outdoors is gaining a bigger sense of confidence and self-confidence. That's something that I've always really, really struggled with. People find that hard to believe when they see me posting on social media and things, but as a teenager, as a child, as my early 20s, really lacked a lot of confidence, and I guess I just didn't really know what I wanted to do or who I thought I was, all these things that everybody goes through at different stages in their life and continues to go through no matter how much confidence you gain. And I suppose being outside and exploring and discovering new places and new things to do and new places to go has given me a real confidence boost, because it's made me think, okay, I'm capable of this and I really enjoy it and it makes me feel good. And that's, I think that's something that I look back on as one of my biggest achievements in the outdoors. And then there's specific walks that I've done, whether that's solo walks that I've never thought I would be able to do, that I have done and feel incredible that I've been able to achieve it. And then there's group walks as well, where I've met some of the people who've become my closest friends now, and I would have never met them without group walks and hikes and the outdoors. So I have loads of mixed memories when it comes to my best bits, I suppose. There's not really anything in particular that stands out a lot.
Probably a whole other interview in itself then.
Yeah,
we could fill another
too
book.
big a question.
So you touched on how Iona's adventures came about. So from your, and you've talked about how it's benefited your own mental health. I mean, could you expand on what scenarios you've had where you've had to use the outdoors or used the group to be able to improve that?
Oh, definitely, especially working as a nurse in general. I mean, I used to work in the hospitals in the acute sector. Very, very stressful role. It was very, very busy. That was when I first moved to Edinburgh, and there was just a lot of life changes, a big move, away from where I'd been living for a few years before that, and this brand new role and becoming a nurse in the first place. It was just a very stressful time, and I worked 12.5-hour shifts when I was there, and I used to use my solo walks initially as headspace and time outdoors, just to clear my mind from all of the stress and the worries that I had on the wards. And that was around about that time when I first set up the group walk, and then being able to meet new people and kind of people from different walks of life who were also going through stressful times and also going through big life changes, and talking to people and realising, oh, okay, so in the bigger picture, things aren't too bad, and actually I can get through this and I can cope with this, and I can talk to these new people about it and get different perspectives on it all, and I found that really, really beneficial. And that year was very stressful, and I moved away from the acute sector, now working in the primary sector as a practice nurse in a GP surgery. So that's a whole different pace of life, but still has its pressures and stresses, and it's a job where I have a lot of responsibility. So even now I still really look forward to time outside. And today, I mean, I sit at a desk most of my day, even when I've got my patients. And today I got up that little bit earlier, went down to the beach before work just to watch the sunrise. And I was literally only there for 10 minutes. And I just took a deep breath and I thought, oh, this is so nice. This is what I need. I needed this to start my day. And that's not a big hike, you know, that's not up a mountain, standing at a summit. That's just about being outside. It's not necessarily always about big adventures and really pushing yourself and pushing your limits. There's definitely a place for that, but for me it's just spending time outside, and whether that's being at home, visiting my family and just going for a dog walk with them, just something really gentle, or whether it's solo camping on a hillside, you know, there's so much variety, and I use that all the time. I'm always looking to be outside and to be active in some way, even if it's just walking down the road to go to the shop rather than taking the car. Do you know, it's just building it into my life in lots of little ways, and I know that I need that. Coming back to your question, I know that I need that for my mental health and my well-being, because I get antsy and I get irritated if I've not been outside or if I've not been active. So it's just something that I know I need on not necessarily a daily basis, but on a regular basis. And I've just found ways of building it into my life. And I'm really passionate about encouraging other people to do that as well, because we constantly say, oh, I don't have time, or oh, I can't fit it in. And I just got up 10 minutes earlier and I went to the beach, and that 10 minutes before work was really, really beneficial. So yeah, it's part of my everyday life, definitely.
Well, I think you're right. I think trying to make time, I think that is always the pressure, isn't it? Or one of the pressures, but it's always that time aspect.
Yeah.
I don't have time to do this, I don't have time to do that. But and I think what people have found, and I'm just talking at work, is that people are looking for a better quality of life, a better work-life balance, to keep themselves right, I think,
Yeah.
And obviously linked to mental health. So you set up a website, which is a bit of a social enterprise.
Yeah.
And I've had a browse through it, and it includes a lot of mountain instructors, walking instructors and things.
Yeah.
Is that the next step from Iona's Adventures, or is it working in parallel?
Yeah, I guess it definitely is the next step. That sort of came about last year, where I was thinking, okay, I've got this walking group and there's thousands of people in this walking group, and it felt like it had kind of snowballed and gained momentum, and I've done so many positive things or had so many positive experiences as a result of it. And I was thinking, how can I elevate this, and how can I help people in another way? And I realised that I had learnt so much from people within the group who are far, far more experienced and skilled than I am, just out of the kindness of their hearts. You know, if we've been on group walks, I've kind of learnt bits and pieces from them. And organisations like Mountaineer in Scotland had offered skills groups for the walking group, or skills courses I should say, where we learn winter skills, and I've done navigation courses through somebody else that I got in contact through the group. And so I was thinking, well, how can I provide that sort of service to people because I felt like anybody who thought that the walking group was a safe, non-judgmental space for them, it'd be good to be able to then step that up and offer them a course, whereas they might feel too intimidated to do it elsewhere, or just simply not know where to start in Googling looking for a course. Yeah. And so I started thinking about recruiting some instructors who could provide those skills courses, and I wanted to make it more of a social enterprise rather than a business. I'm not exactly going to make my millions doing that, and I thought I want it to be about giving back to the group and being able to invest some of the profits into maybe people who can't necessarily afford skills courses, or organisations and charities who can provide that kind of support for people who use the outdoors as a mental health sort of therapy. And that's basically where the social enterprise came from. So it's the same name, it's Iona's Adventures, and I've got a great little team of instructors, men and women, who are extremely qualified in the outdoors, far more qualified than I will ever be. And I launched that at the end of last year, so the end of 2020, kind of mid-pandemic, and did some crowdfunding, and people very generously donated money to kind of help get it off the ground, because there's expenses and fees involved in that. And then lockdown hit again at the start of 21. I couldn't get any of the skills courses off of the ground. And I think, to be honest, I kind of fell a little bit out of love with all of it, because I hadn't done any group walks for almost a year at that point because of lockdown and the pandemic. And I'd sort of forgotten why I'd set it up in the first place. And I guess I sort of lost touch and lost connection with the walking group in general, because I hadn't been seeing anybody, I hadn't been able to organise any walks, and there hadn't been that sort of community sense. Although the Facebook group had been really active with people posting, there just hadn't been that face-to-face connection. And so I didn't keep putting in the hours with getting it off the ground. And then just recently, we were speaking about this earlier, I've organised the first group walk post-pandemic, sort of 18 months, more than 18 months after the last face-to-face event.
Feels like a long time sometimes with these things.
A long time, yeah. And I've decided that I need to get back into the swing of the group walks first, get meeting people again, and kind of reignite that passion for why I set up the group in the first place. And then I think there will be that natural progression where all of these people that I'm meeting, you know, many of whom will be more experienced than I will be, but many others who are just going out hiking for the first time. And I think that's where my love of the idea of the social enterprise will come back into it, because all of these people that I'll be meeting, I'm going to start thinking, right, okay, so what's next? How do we support you more, and how do I upskill people and give them that confidence and competency in the outdoors? And so yeah, the social enterprise is the next step, but I need to fall back in love with the walking group again.
Step back to
yeah,
step forward.
And not that I really fell out of it. It's more just what was the word that I used? I think I need to go back to the grassroots of it and remember why I set it up in the first place, and really focus on that and gain a little bit of a buzz around it again, not just for other people but for myself as well, and get back into the swing of it.
You've got to love it first before anybody else can.
Yeah.
So
it's really autumn, leaves are falling.
You're outside, and it's a bit cold. During the time where you were taking a step back from Iona's Adventures and the social enterprise, what were you still getting out and about and getting your outdoor fix, I suppose? Is that still something?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Although, to be honest, I haven't been doing any big hikes in terms of Munros and things like that. I just haven't felt the need to. I haven't put myself under any pressure to either.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hype on social media when travel restrictions were reducing, or easing, I should say, and a lot of people were posting, you know, where's the first adventure you're going to be? Where's your next expedition going to be? All this stuff. Not just to me, but in general, you know, people were asking one another, what's first, what's next, sort of thing. I just didn't feel that. I didn't feel that real need to be on top of a really remote high mountain. I just thought with lockdown, I'd really enjoyed kind of taking things a lot easier. I realised how much I've been pushing myself all the time, especially with work being busy and then filling up all my spare seconds of the day with going out hiking after work or going out camping at the weekends and, you know, multi-day hikes and things like that, and travelling really far and spending a lot of time in the car. And I just thought, whoa, lockdown made me realise, oh my gosh, I actually like being at home sometimes, and I like just taking a stroll on the beach, and I like spending time with my husband, going for a wee wander. Do you know, it doesn't need to be this fast-paced, high pressure all the time. And so yeah, as lockdown eased, I did start going hiking or going paddleboarding or whatever it was that I wanted to do, but I felt like I was really doing it for myself. I wasn't doing it to post on social media. I wasn't doing it to push myself either. So like I was saying before, it's always something that I've built into my daily life, but I just haven't been going to the ends of the earth to do multi-Monroe hike days and things like that. And that'll come back, and you know, especially with the group walks, I know that I'm going to want to do that with other people and experience that with other people. But yeah, I haven't had that desire over the last sort of 8-10 months or so.
Do you, and I'm going to try and phrase this right because I don't want it to be misinterpreted, but do you feel that there is an expectation on you as Iona of Iona's Adventures? Do you think people have an expectation of you? Is there any, I don't want to use the word pressure, but do you think that's
I don't know. That's
No?
an interesting question, because I'm not sure, because nobody's ever said that to me. Do you know what I mean?
I was just wondering if that's where when you had through lockdown you took the break and you didn't rush back into it like a lot of people did, as we've seen on social media. It was a rush to the first Monroe.
I don't know. I think I've always been really open on social media and honest about the fact that I'm not the most skilled person, and I'm definitely not the most experienced person when it comes to hiking and climbing and scrambling or whatever it is, you know. So actually I think people probably, I don't know, I'm assuming, but I don't think people expect me to be up a Monroe every second day, or, you know, solo camping in super remote locations, because I've always been really honest about the fact that that's not necessarily what adventure means to me. Yeah, I do love those days every so often, and I love planning something, especially with friends and things like that, or for a group walk, but yeah, because that's not the be all and the end all of my time outdoors, I don't think people do have that expectation, because I quite openly share things like my 10-minute beach stroll this morning, just about being outside and not necessarily pushing the boundaries. So actually it would be interesting to know what people's perspective was of me in the outdoors, but I would like to think that it's not like this high paced, like super pressured outdoor Monroeist or whatever.
So from the group, or maybe not even from the group, but maybe from personal experience, have you seen others benefit for their mental health in the outdoors?
Yeah, definitely. Even if they've not specifically said to me, I've seen the connections that people have made, you know, friendships, relationships, marriages. I mean, that stands the test of time, because it shows that people can make those really positive connections. And actually that's one of the things that I think a lot of people joining the Facebook group say, that hiking is something that they want to do but they don't have friends to do it with. So maybe like their friendship group is people that they grew up with, and they've all sort of gone separate directions. They don't share the same interests and things anymore. That can be really isolating, and I know what that felt like when I only had myself to go hiking with, and I've learned to love my own company and to feel comfortable in my own skin. But there came a time where I thought, I really want to share this with other people, and that's where the walking group came in. And I've seen that in other people as well, and I've seen the benefits in terms of the connections made, but also just, I mean, people's mental health in general. I've had some really lovely feedback after group walks where people have felt so anxious about coming along, and whether they get anxiety in general, and a group walk just really hypes that up and adds to that anxiety, which it would, because it's an intimidating thing to do, and I always think it's really brave when people come along. But to get feedback afterwards from people who've said that they felt anxious and they met the group and then suddenly felt so at ease and wondered why they ever worried about it, that says as well that it's benefiting somebody's well-being and their mental health. It might not benefit them in any major way, or they might not have a huge life change as a result of it, but for them to come along on that one day to enjoy one walk in the company of other people and to relieve their anxiety a little bit, I think that's really powerful, and I get that sort of feedback really regularly, and it's lovely. And especially if somebody posts to say that they're feeling a bit worried about coming along or maybe apprehensive, all of a sudden you get these responses from other people who once felt that way and want to reassure that person and say, no pressure, but I loved it and I think you're going to love it, and give it a chance. And that's really, really special to see that kind of, that push towards putting yourself out of your comfort zone a little bit, but knowing that it'll have a bigger benefit. And that's really powerful.
I think from my experience very early on when I started hiking again, it got to a stage where I got sent out on walks because other people recognised that I needed it. Like it was a reset. That's how I described it 10, 12 years ago. It was I had to be out there to reset again. Otherwise, I was getting a little bit agitated, let's say, or annoying other people. Maybe that's when people knew that you need to go disappear for a day.
It's a real sense of self, though, isn't it?
Yes.
To have that motivation and that willpower to put your boots on and to get outside, because taking the first step literally is the first thing that you can do towards going for a hike and towards doing that for yourself. And I mean, it's amazing once you step outside, and like you say, it's like a reset, because being outside kind of gives you this whole other sense of perspective, and you sort of see the bigger picture. And I always think to myself, anything that I've been worrying about or stressing over or overthinking, when I'm outside, it's like there's so much of this open space around me, and then whatever I've been worrying about is really put into perspective and feels so much smaller in comparison to everything else. Not to belittle how I've been feeling or how anybody else feels, but it just makes you think so much clearer and
give you the headspace to deal with that problem.
Yeah, and you can process things so much more without this constant chatter of your outside daily life, because life is so busy and you've got your phone constantly pinging at you, and you've got phone calls and work and family and life and stress, and so many things come at you from all different angles. And suddenly when you're outside, you just remove all of that. You put your phone on silent, you don't have to look at it, you don't have to look at anything or anyone else, especially if you're on your own. And it's this huge open space, gives you so much more headspace.
Definitely, yeah, I 100% agree. So you talked about obviously getting back into the outdoors, or reinvigorating, I think probably is maybe a better word. But with the social enterprise, obviously you want to develop that. What plans do you have? Are you going to scale all the Munros, or do you have anything on the cards? Do you have anything? Do
you know what? I'm one of those really annoying people that just don't have any plans. And this is the thing, people always say to me, like, what is next? What's your big adventure going to be? And I had a huge adventure 2 years ago when I went on an expedition to Morocco, with a wonderful company called 3 Peaks Adventure, and they were 3 Peaks Africa at the time. They've rebranded, run by Marie Cheng, and she is the most, oh my gosh, she's the most inspirational person. She is just like a powerhouse. Right. And she's incredible when it comes to the outdoors. She's hiked all over the world, and she'd approached me and asked me if I wanted to do this expedition to Morocco, and it was somewhere I'd always wanted to go. And we hiked the 3 highest mountains in North Africa, and I recruited a team of people to come and join me to do it with me from the walking group, and they've become some of my best friends. They really have, and that was incredible. And I never ever imagined that I would do anything like that at all. I just couldn't have believed that I would have done that, and that I would have had such an incredible time. It was amazing. And afterwards, people said to me, "What's next? What's the next expedition?" I just sort of thought, I don't think I have another plan. Yeah. And even now, I still don't think I have another plan.
So kind of wait for an opportunity or see what comes up.
Yeah, and just see how I feel. And I'm not very good at planning in advance in any aspect of my life. I'm not a very organised person. I'm organised enough for work. Outside of that, oh my gosh, it just all goes to pot. So it was great with Marie because she organised the expedition. Mm-hmm. That was good because I didn't have to do that side of it, because it would have been a shambles if I did. But yeah, I think my main aim just now, and to be fair, this is a goal, this is an aim. My main aim is to get the walking group back up and running, to get people out on group walks, to go to film festivals and to meet other people there, and really fall back in love with it and help other people fall in love with it as well. And then just see what happens. I do have plans to get the social enterprise up and running. I had a chat with one of the instructors the other day, and she's really experienced, and she has so much knowledge, and she is really working towards kind of helping to diversify the outdoors and make sure that there's accurate representation and things as well. And I feel really passionate about that, because I know that I'm in a privileged position where I am, and I want to be able to help other people and to support other people if I can, or just to create a space for other voices to be heard. So I do have plans to get the social enterprise up and running, and to really work hard on that. But I think it needs to be a natural progression. And so for me just now, I don't have any expeditions or big adventures. I've never been that kind of person, and I don't feel like that still now. So yeah, I'm just kind of taking it as it comes and see what happens.
I know I am a little bit goal driven. I need to have something to focus on, and there are people like that in the outdoors, but I think it's good to hear that you're not, because neither is a bad thing, I don't think, but there are people, like I say, who are goal driven. Do you have them come to your groups as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. My lovely friend Jamie Neal, I met him through the group walks. He was one of the first people who ever joined. Didn't know him at all before, probably would have never met him otherwise, and he's just completed the Monroes just very recently, and he is a classic example of one of those people who's very goal driven, needs to set himself something to work towards to keep himself accountable, and I really admire that in him. And he's really passionate about helping other people to achieve that if that's what they want to do. So yeah, I mean, there's so many people that I know, people who are in the walking group as well, who are like that and who need something to work towards and a goal to keep them motivated. And like I say, I totally admire that and respect that in other people. I'm just not one of those people. I can't be organised enough to have a goal and to work towards it. But yeah, we're all different and all work in different ways, and the outdoors can work in whatever way you want it to. So yeah, it's such a mixed bag.
Yeah, I think the outdoors does have something for everybody, whether you want to technically climb a rock climb, or whether you want to go for a 1 mile loop round the park. I think that's it has everything for everybody.
And that's the other thing, you can do at whatever level feels comfortable for you, and there's no discrimination against that. There's no criticism, there's no judgment. It's doing what you enjoy. I've said it before, but it's what you enjoy, what makes you feel good, and what works for you. Yeah, we're all so different, and I would never pass judgment on anyone for enjoying the outdoors in whatever way is best for them. So yeah, we're all different.
We've covered a lot of ground there, I think. A lot of good ground. I think that we have set the world to rights. I think in terms of mental health, I think there's a long way to go. But being a gear geek, a self-confessed gear geek, what is your best bit of outdoor kit or outdoor related kit?
So I am the opposite. I am not a gear geek, okay?
Yep.
I look like I've got the gear, but that's from some very kind brands who want to invest in me, want to invest in the walking group, who very generously donate kit to me, and I'm so grateful for that, because I wouldn't be able to enjoy half of the things that I do without it. So yeah, I look the part, but it's not through my own doing. However, I did take one item with me today. Definitely not your typical gear geek item. However, oh no, technical issues. This is my litter picker.
Right.
And I like to take this on all my walks, because I feel like if you enjoy the outdoors, you have a responsibility to help maintain the outdoors and to keep it a safe and tidy space for all the users. And yeah, whenever I'm out walking, or whenever I'm out paddleboarding or swimming or anything, I try and pick up whatever litter I find. And sometimes it can feel really overwhelming, because you feel like you can't make enough of a difference to change the world. But I do think that making a tiny difference, even if it feels like a drop in the ocean, is something important. And this litter picker is made by a company called Waterhull, and basically it's made from recycled fishing nets, and they approached me during the pandemic to say that they were making litter pickers made from old reused face masks. And obviously with the pandemic, we see face masks everywhere now, discarded everywhere, and you hear about them in the ocean looking like jellyfish. You see them caught on trees, in the pavement, in long grass when you're out walking, and it's just another form of litter that's going to be found all over the world. And yeah, so they have made litter pickers from old face masks, and so they gave me this one to try out before they established their face mask ones, and I love it. I mean, look at it. Sorry, but I know I'm not a gear geek, but this is so cool. It just folds down in half, and I just had this in my rucksack and took it out of my rucksack. Or you can strap it onto the outside of your rucksack with a little clip, and it's just so good. I mean, there's no litter here, but look, how brilliant is this?
That is brilliant. That is good. I mean, and I saw on the side there when you were talking about it before, you mentioned that it was recycled out of fish nets.
Fishing nets,
and yeah, that's great. That's amazing. So what was the brand? What was the brand again?
It's called Waterhull.
Okay, I'll tag them in this video.
Please do, because I do think that we all have that responsibility to, if you want to enjoy the outdoors, you have to help maintain the outdoors. You have to educate yourself on how to look after these wild spaces, whether it's green spaces when you're walking or hiking, or whether it's blue spaces when you're enjoying lakes, lochs, reservoirs, the sea, whatever it is. We all have such a responsibility, and I know it's frustrating when you think, why should I pick up somebody else's litter? But who's going to do it if you don't do it? And if we all do it, and if we educate our children on how to do it and educate each other, and I'm planning on arranging kind of beach cleans and things like that as part of getting the walking group back up and running, because having that community spirit and bringing people together as a force of good, I think that's really important. So yep, I have my litter picker in my car, in my bag, on all my walks, and yeah, I love it.
Awesome. No, here, that's it's got a practical use as well. Oh, excellent. Well, Iona, it's been great to sit here in the cold and talk to you. Apologies I couldn't do anything about the temperature, but it's been great to meet you. It's been great to talk to you, and I hope we can do it again sometime.
Thank you, I really appreciate it. And yeah, as you can probably tell, I can ramble a lot, but I feel really passionate about the walking group, and I really am grateful for every opportunity to speak about it and to try and encourage more people to come along. So thank you.
No problem. Excellent. I hope you enjoyed that chat. I know I did. I want to thank Iona for giving up her time and coming and talking to me, and also again to Berghaus, Helinox and Chris Lines for pretty much bringing it all together. We've got some other interviews coming up, so keep an eye out for them. Remember, subscribe to the channel, like us on social media, and we'll see you again soon.